If you're looking into outsourcing, there's one reason, first and foremost, in your mind as to why you would do it. It's cost savings. In America, $54,000 a year is the median annual compensation for an employee, regardless of skill set or kind of educational background, technical background, etc. So when you're looking at $54,000 a year as kind of the median, if you're in America, obviously, around $30,000 a year is kind of the start of a full-time position, regardless. Um, it can be a lot of money, especially for small to medium-sized business owners who are trying to compete, with larger companies who obviously have the funds to kind of bankroll their very large payrolls, whereas a lot of small to medium-sized companies don't have that kind of luxury. So the beauty of outsourcing is that you can get a lot of these roles, specifically roles that are, that can be done in a remote capacity. I mean, everything now post COVID is done in a remote capacity anyway, and so having an employee overseas really doesn't seem that different for a lot of business owners than having an employee in another state, or having an employee, if you're in New York, having an employee in California. It's a very normal thing now. And so the beauty of just completely outsourcing is you save a lot on cost and you save a lot on headache as well. So Pakistan, why is it a great place to outsource? Well, when you're looking at cost savings, Pakistan is going to be a place that's still relatively new and up and coming. And so you're going to get kind of the advantage in that it's not going to cost as much money to outsource in Pakistan than it would to outsource in other places. So let's give an example. In America, the cost for a customer service representative is around $12 to $15 an hour before tax, depending on kind of the workload, depending on the skill set, and again, mostly depending on the location, kind of the tax environment, kind of which state you're in. But $12 to $15 an hour is kind of the minimum wage for customer service roles. Now, in Pakistan, when you actually outsource those roles, you're going to be paying around $8 an hour all in for that role. $8 an hour all in means $8 an hour, including tax, including local compliance, including all of the overhead that goes into working with an outsourcing provider as well. But all of those costs, it's $8 an hour all in, as of in 2023 for customer service roles. So you can see the amount of money that you're saving. If you have multiple employees, you're able to basically get 3 or 4 employees, a team of 3 or 4 reps, for the same price that you'd be paying to just have one representative. And of course, the call volume, the ticket volume that more employees can handle, of course, is more. So that's kind of the beauty of working with an outsourcing provider that can get into the Pakistani market, because it's still up and coming. It's still relatively new, and it's affordable in that sense. So Pakistan is a great place to outsource. I'll give you another example: software development roles. Again, in America, it's around $70,000 a year and up to get a software developer, software engineer, full stack engineer. Whereas in Pakistan, that cost can basically goes up to around $12 an hour, all in, again, factoring in the compensation, taxes, compliance, and kind of all of those other headaches, as well as the overhead of most BPO kind of providers. So that's kind of the beauty of working with Pakistan in terms of the cost savings, first and foremost. And so let's get into some other kind of advantages of Pakistan specifically. Now, quickly, HR is also a big issue. So if you are hiring people in Pakistan, it's not going to cost nearly as much as it would in America. According to Glassdoor, it's around $4,000 per employee. That cost of onboarding, of hiring someone, of finding someone, potentially having to terminate someone and find a new employee. So the cost according to Glassdoor in America, is around $4,000 per employee. In Pakistan, it's much, much less, around $500 to $1,000 to actually hire someone, get somebody onboarded, find someone first and foremost, pay any recruiting fees and costs, recruiting commissions and things like that. So there's a lot of that, as well as, if you just, again, factor in the cost, employee training also costs a lot less. You can afford to keep people on your payroll and actually train them for longer, or even train an entire team for the same amount of money in time that you'd be training just one person. So it's a interesting dynamic in that sense as well. Now, of course, in a lot of countries, when we look at compliance, there's a lot of countries, specifically the Philippines, India, that have very long track records, along with Pakistan, of outsourcing and being good outsourcing destinations for Western companies and multinational companies. And so the beauty of working and outsourcing in a place like this is also that the government will help you. The local government will help you do business there, right? There's not a huge tax compliance need. There is some, which any outsourcing provider will kind of help you with, but there's not too much. There's also very little tax that you're paying on the other end that the outsourcing company is actually able to save, and then those savings, of course, are passed on to the customer. So there's a lot of these kind of the government really wants to kind of spur this business and keep it within the country. So they do their best to kind of stay hands off, let people do what they want, and try to help in any way they can. So that's another beauty, and kind of goes into cost savings when it comes to outsourcing in these countries. Now, one of the questions that comes up is, well, if Pakistan is such a cheap place to live in, or a cheap place to outsource to, then is there a catch? Is there something I'm not seeing? Does that low cost, does it imply low performance? And honestly, the answer is no. The great part about outsourcing to Pakistan is that Pakistan is actually the second cheapest country in the world to live. Not the Philippines, not India. Pakistan is the second cheapest country in the world to live in, behind Afghanistan. So when people's housing costs are low, when people's utilities are low, food is low, water is low, transportation costs are low, when all of these costs are low, then of course that cost can then be passed on to the actual client. That's the beauty of doing business in Pakistan, is that when the costs are low, everybody's kind of in a win-win situation, because salaries at the lower end in the United States, as I mentioned before, are actually in the higher end when it comes to Pakistan. These are highly coveted roles, and so people, it's a win-win either way. People, people are happy to be working for those wages. Oftentimes, it's one of the best wages that are offered in the entire country. So again, it's a win-win for everybody involved, and that's another beautiful part about doing business in Pakistan. So of course, Pakistan is a third world country that goes into the low living costs. But one of the great parts about working with people who are from a different culture and from a different background is the fact that a lot of people in third world countries have to be able to think on their feet. They have to be able to make decisions in the moment, and they're very good at that, right? Because their living situation is such that people need to be able to think outside of the box in the local language in Urdu or Punjabi in some parts of Pakistan. Punjabi is spoken, but in Urdu and Punjabi, it's called being able to find a jugaad and everything, which means you're able to find a solution, think on your feet, even if it's outside of the box. You're able to to make something happen, and oftentimes that characteristic gets kind of translated into people's professional lives as well. And so, whether a manager is not available and they, have a customer on the phone and they need to kind of find a solution, they will. Or if it's a software engineer who, their job is in PHP or in WordPress, but a small thing comes up where they need to write a script in Python, you better bet that they're going to call up their friend who, knows how to write scripts in Python, and they're going to be able to, hash it out and still get things done on time. So that's a beauty of doing business in Pakistan, again, where people are able to think on their feet. People are able to kind of make things happen. and are able to, again, kind of think outside of the box. Another great thing about Pakistan is that you'll find that the workforce is very, very highly educated. There's a lot of people specifically who go into roles in BPO companies. Most BPO companies, outsourcing companies, only look at potential employees who have college degrees, either bachelor's, master's, sometimes even more than that. Some people have, and so you're getting somebody who's highly educated as well, on top of having a great skill set. Which, of course, skill sets seems to be more required today, in the 21st century, especially for most roles. But for some IT related roles specifically, but education is still important, and Pakistan definitely provides in that category as well. Now, this is a little bit of an opinion, but not so much a fact. But Pakistanis do tend to work very hard, and they are, hardworking people. They're able to get things done on time. They're able to get through deadlines, and just overall, they're pretty reliable people. Good productivity, skills, again, good work ethic. Another thing is that Pakistanis specifically are very accustomed to working in different time zones. So whether you're in, again, the United States, PST, EST, if you're in the UK, if you're in Australia, Pakistanis will kind of just on at the snap of a finger, they will kind of just adapt to whatever your time zone requirement is. So that's another great thing about doing business in Pakistan. Hardworking people, and again, very flexible, especially when it comes to time zones. Now, interestingly, 64 to 65% of Pakistan's population is actually under the age of 30, which means there's a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition for jobs. There's a lot of competitions when they're doing business. There's a lot of competition in general, and it's all people who are tech savvy, people who understand how to use technology, how to use it to their advantage, how to find out how to get certain skill sets they might not already have, and more. So that's another beauty of doing business in Pakistan. You're getting people who are good at competing, who've competed basically all their life. Whatever whatever endeavor they're trying to do, there's fierce competition for. There's limited, roles and limited slots or seats in some of the things they're competing for. And that means when you're hiring someone in Pakistan, that they are going to be competitive. They're going to be able to kind of go above and beyond to get what you need done, because it is something that's just kind of ingrained in them. And so that's another great thing about doing business in Pakistan. Now, if you are hiring for a role that is maybe a customer facing, right? Or maybe you're saying, well, all right, I can think about hiring in Pakistan, but how's their English going to be, right? Because I might be a US based company or a UK based company, Australian based company. We speak English. So we, our other employees speak English. Our vendors, partners, investors, our, customers, they all speak English. How well is this employee going to be able to communicate with, the other stakeholders in my business? Well, Pakistan is actually the host to the eighth largest English-speaking population in the world. So you can be confident that a lot of people know English, a lot of people understand English, and specifically for customer service and other kind of account management related roles, virtual assistants, things like that. Most of those roles are usually filled with people who can speak English very, very well, and who have great both written and verbal English speaking. Employees in Pakistan also tend to have very, very low turnover ratios, specifically if they're working with an overseas client, which, most of US, UK, Australian, UAE clients would be considered overseas clients. The reason the turnover is so low, again, is because it's competitive. People are, competing viciously kind of for these roles, and they're very, very coveted in Pakistan. And so, you can expect employee turnover of anywhere from 1% to 3%, whereas in America, it's closer to 6 to 7%. I think it's about 6.4% last time I checked. But, there's that variance because again, there's not that many opportunities available to people in Pakistan, and so once they are able to get roles like this, they're very highly coveted. They don't want to mess up, and so you're gonna see a lot lower turnover ratios and turnover rates for roles in Pakistan. So again, that's another beauty of doing business with the Pakistani people. So to conclude, Pakistan is a wonderful destination to outsource in for 2023, in 2023 and beyond. It's going to be a great destination for outsourcing. And so if you're interested in potentially outsourcing to Pakistan, you're kind of scoping it out. You want to see, well, maybe it might work for me, maybe it might not. If you want somebody to kind of look at your business independently, I know I'm not completely independent, but I try to be as independent as I can to say, hey, maybe it won't work for you. Maybe it's a good option. Maybe it's not. These are kind of the pros and cons. If you want that kind of outline, please be sure to click the link in the description. We can kind of get on a call, no cost or anything like that. Again, just to independently go over. Maybe Pakistan's a good option. Maybe it's not for outsourcing. If you've made up your mind on outsourcing, we'd love to help you out. My name is, again, Fahad with Meridian BPO. We outsource primarily to Pakistan, and we help a lot of companies decrease their staffing costs over 50%. And we also offer, great value for the money that we charge. So again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you'd like to get in touch, links below, and there's also a link to this the accompanying blog post with some more information in a written format down below in this video. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care.